Welcome to your weekly update for the week of July 4th to July 8th. And we've got a lot done this week. A lot of it was electrical stuff, which we'll go look at. But we've got quite a bit of progress happening here on the land as well. And right now, before we take the tour, I'll kind of talk about what I'm doing. But if you want to see me do this stuff on a daily basis, I do vlog daily at fromthefield.tv. So if you have any specific questions, we cover a lot of stuff in these weekly updates. If you're curious about one particular thing, chances are it was covered in the weekly vlogs. So this week I vlogged every single day. And yeah, you can check those out at fromthefield.tv. So right now, I'm actually shaping out the beds on a new terrace that we're going to have, will be planted within probably a week or so. And what I'm doing right now is I'm shaping my beds. Now this is an odd shaped terrace. So I've got my strings laid out. And what I essentially do here is I'll start with one kind of cardinal line and where I want to form from there. So I just did this, I just eyeballed this, not the strings, but I eyeballed how I wanted these beds to be made. And I just ran a cardinal line of one string. Where can I get one straight shot? And I like to keep I do all my beds 30 inches, just like I did on the market farm. And I got a cardinal line, and then from there, I just tee off. And so because this is a strangely shaped block, it's not a perfect square, I always bring my T-square with me. And I don't bother, when I'm doing beds like this, I don't bother getting it square like I would with a foundation or a greenhouse or anything like that. I just use my T-square. So once I have a cardinal line, which is, I started with this one, and I always have a 500-foot roll of string, so I've got enough to generally do this. Make one cardinal line, and then I just tee off there, and then I'll measure 30 inches, and then I put a pin in there, and then I'll have the same down there, and so now I can do this run. And then, so this one comes in a bit because I lose a bit of space here, so I just tee off the string. My walkways are 1 foot, and then I'll put that pin in, and then I'll go do the opposite end there, then I'll string that, and then this again comes in, so I'll tee off, and so on and so forth. And that's how I lay it out. And then from there, once I have these walkways shaped as to how I want them, I'm using a flat square shovel, which is probably an 8-inch shovel blade, and I'm coming down and I'm taking the soil from the walkways and put it in the bed. So this is all subsoil, and you've probably seen, if you've been following my vlogs, certainly if you've been following my vlogs, but maybe you might have seen it in some of the weekly updates, this is how I've been shaping my beds. So these terraces that we've formed on this property are all very rocky. It's a very rocky land up here. All this soil that I'm using here, we've screened this soil and we've brought it in here with the skid steer. So we have a big soil pit. I probably talked about it in the last number of weekly updates because we've been doing this on and off for a very long time now. We've really got it down to a science. And so we screen all this soil down there at the pit, and then it comes up, gets spread with the skid steer. Now this is a subsoil. So when we're mining our soil back there, we're scraping the topsoil, which is the top 6-inch profile, which is basically just a forest floor humus layer. We're moving that into a separate pile, and then we scrape deep and get to the subsoil, and then we screen that. We bring that out on the skid steer in piles. This was probably 12 loads of soil on the skid steer bucket to come out here. And then I rake it flat, and then I start doing these pins, and then we get to where we are now. And so from here, what's going to happen, once I have these all shaped out, I'll actually fertilize these beds. I use a composted turkey manure. I'll fertilize these beds, and then I'll do it before I rake them flat, just so I'm kind of mixing it in. Then I'll come in with my mulch. This is what we did last week over there where the potatoes are planted. And I'll bring in my mulch to bring these up almost 8 inches to a foot in these walkways. Then I bring in my topsoil and finish my beds with just the topsoil. And then essentially from there, the bed is formed, and I'll irrigate it for a while. And what I'm trying to do right now is, as I form all these beds, is I'm doing a expedited stale seed bedding process, which is to flush out the weeds so that I can knock them back before I plant. And so I could use a tarp, but I just don't want to do that right now. And I've got a massive abundance of water on this mountain. We're tapped into some kind of artesian well, and not an artesian well, but it's a well that is seemingly limitless. And so I just water the beds every day, and then that's going to flush out the weeds. And then before I seed anything in here, I'll flame weed them. But just like the potatoes down there and right behind me here, we planted this week. We planted about 300 plants of potatoes. I could rush those ones because I put down landscape fabric with holes burned in every foot, and then I put the crop in right away. But if I'm going to seed anything directly and not have a layer of mulch or something like that, then I'm going to make sure to flush out these weeds. Otherwise, this soil will be so weedy that it won't be worth the work. And so for me, I like to do the work. I like to front load the work, either putting a landscape fabric on, a mulch, or stale seed bedding, so that I don't have weed problems later and then I'm not spending time weeding. So anyways, that's what's happening here on this terrace. I'll probably finish this one tonight. And let's go and take a look at the rest of what's happening this week. So in the last weekly update, we were down on the bottom terrace here, and I was talking about this greenhouse. So now we've got our foundation wall all finished, and we got about the rebar halfway tied, and we'll finish that. That'll be the next thing we do. And then we'll pour that. So we'll have this all done and poured early next week, but we've got it all formed out, and that's the footing of this greenhouse. So it's 16 feet wide, it's 40 feet long. It looks just like the one that's behind the camera. And so we worked on that. And so once we have that formed, then we're going to bring our soil down in there and do the exact same thing that I'm doing here. And actually, no, I'll probably build the greenhouse before I do it, actually, so that when I'm doing all the hardware stuff, I can do it on scaffolding. So that's actually what's going to happen is once that concrete's done, we'll build the rest of the greenhouse. So we'll bring in we'll get the bows up, and then we'll bring in the scaffolding so that we can do all of our high work, and then get it all tied together, ridge pole down the center, hip boards and toe kick boards along, and then poly up, channel lock, all that stuff. Then we'll bring the soil in. So we still got quite a bit of work on that to finish that, but I think I feel fairly confident we'll have that done by next week, but we'll see. Sometimes I get derailed, and then, today, for example, I've had 4 guys on the homestead here doing everything but the earthwork. So this is pretty much just me doing this week. All the earthwork stuff is all me, and I've got one guy, John, doing the siding on the greenhouse. We'll go look at that. And then I've got 2 electricians that have been moving the solar panel and all that. So this has been a lot for me. So hopefully I can get this done next week. We'll see. I've got one guy helping me there, but we'll see how it goes. So there was that, and then that last little block, I showed you that last week, but now that's planted. So there was 6 beds of potatoes there. We did Kennebec, Yukon, and there was a purple and a russet Burbank. And then just over on this terrace here, we'll go over here next, I also planted 2 beds of potatoes there, which was all Yukon Golds. So these were another 2 beds of potatoes. I wanted to plant everything I had left over. So I thought it would be one block, but it spilled over into this one. So I still have 6 other beds here that have yet to be planted. And a lot of that stuff's popping up in the nursery. We can actually go and take a quick look at that. I've got corn is popping up. That might go on this block here that I'm working on right now. But we've got cabbage, broccolinis, kale, beets, all kinds of crops for the fall and winter. And that's my biggest strategy this year, is because I've been kind of building the gardens out as I go. And so it's difficult to get a really rockin' full season in if you're building at the same time. So my biggest goal this year was to at least just make sure that I had a ton of crop in the ground late summer going into the winter. And we will, because we'll have both greenhouses both these are fully operational. This one will be operational and planted. And that's a cool house down there. That one's, there's no bells and whistles in that. That's single poly, three-season greenhouse, but it'll have all the overwintered crops in there. So all the kales, broccolis, spinach, carrots overwintered, all that stuff will be down there. That stuff likes the cool. So that's going on there. But my big plan is to have a ton of crop in the ground before fall, before, you know, potentially the proverbial shit hits the fan with the food system. So we'll see. But everything seems to be keeping along right now. So not worried about anything. But like I always say, plan for the best, or plan for the worst and hope for the best. So let's go and check out over here. The siding on this side, this is actually going to be a tool wall for me. And the reason we made this Galvalume siding go all the way up to here is because it's going to tie in with the skirting here. And this 2-foot skirting wraps all around this building. And then there'll be the hardy plank siding on top of that, which we'll have to paint. We got to paint our trims. We got to paint the hardy plank. So we still have a lot of work to do here, but this is just kind of giving you an idea of how it's coming along. And we've also been doing a lot of electrical work, little things, these lights, getting things sorted out there. And a lot of the electrical work we've done this week, you can't even see right now because it's buried underground, but we moved our solar panel. So I've been talking about this one for a while, and we finally moved it. It actually went way quicker than I thought. I thought it would take like a week to do this. It took 2 days, two full days really. 2 guys, 2 full days. And so the panel that was once here is now right there. It's way more in alignment with those other 3. And so this one is southeast, 20 degrees to the east. That one is true south, and then that one is 20 degrees to the west. And so the beauty of this is now this panel gives me way more power even already in the morning time, because in the summertime the sun comes up way over here in the northeast, and so when it comes right above those trees, it's already hitting this panel, and this panel will be producing a kilowatt or 2 more than both of those, and that's really going to add up in the shoulder seasons and the winter for sure, because the sun rises right over here. And so it stays all above this building. Now I don't have to worry about any more shade, and it'll be right on this panel. So early in the morning, this panel will be pumping, which is really good, because when you're off grid and you're solar, from what I've learned over the last year, is your morning light is your most important, because you use a lot of power as a family, especially you use a lot of power in the evening. The lights are on, you're using appliances and things like that in the house. So you're sucking your batteries dry. And then in the morning, you're up to do it again. You're cooking breakfast for the kids. You're busy. Lights are on. It's still dark. You know, my family gets up at 5 in the morning, even in the winter, and so we're consuming power. And so that morning light is so crucial. So to be getting power coming in right on this panel and giving us going right to our load is going to be super crucial. It's also just a lot more aesthetically pleasing. I really regretted my decision of putting this panel here. But one thing I've kind of learned over the course of this whole project is sometimes you just don't know how things are going to fit together until you start putting things down. And I had a master plan, but plans change. You know, you run into obstacles and then you have to adjust your plan. And so thus is life. But the beauty is that we're going to use this for a slab. And so we've got it all cleared off. We're just going to fill these cavities in here between. We've poured our little stem wall to connect, and so we'll fill that stuff up, top it with sand, pack it, and then pour a slab on top, and then we'll be building a simple lean-to structure on here. It's a 212 slope, just like the slope of my garage, and it'll be open-faced where all my firewood goes. Boiler will be in the back corner, and it won't be under the roof. It'll just be, you can get to it under the roof. The door will be there, but the boiler itself won't be under the roof. And then the generator is going to move over here. And we've already moved that. And so this generator will come into the slab a little bit. It'll be walled in and enclosed with insulation so that it is less noisy. But there'll be enough room. It'll be ventilated. There'll be a special muffler that comes out of here, an exhaust that comes out. It'll be very well ventilated. And then that's all wired up. And so what's happened over the last couple days is we've dug lines because we moved the generator, so we had to move the power over here. So we've dug a big line here that is the line from here to where the panel is in the garage. And then we've dug another line that came through here. We had to bring power to, I've got some to bring to this greenhouse that we're coming along through there. And then we had to dig another line that's going to be part of my boiler that we haven't totally closed up, that's coming in here to the greenhouse. And so once that boiler's installed, there's a bunch of more digging I have to do. Oh yeah, and we had to dig a line from here to the other panel. Essentially what we did is when the panel came here, we've just junctioned off with a completely sealed weatherproof junction box, and then that's all buried in, and then that line goes right up to this panel. And so this panel is fully operational now. Our system is back to normal. It was kind of neat to see because it was only down for 2 days. This one panel was down for 2 days, but we were still producing 55 kilowatt hours a day, even with just the 2 rigs. So the system is way over spec'd for summer, but it's, in my opinion, it's perfectly spec'd for the winter, and that's how I kind of designed this system. So that's really all that's worth showing you guys for this week. But again, if you want to see these daily vlogs, if you have any specific questions about what's going on here with any of the little things that I'm doing, the specific things I'm doing, you can check out fromthefield.tv, sign up for 7 days for free without any obligation. And if you guys like this video, smash the like, hit the subscribe button if you aren't already, and share the videos with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.